Today I want to talk about whether or not it's worth the upgrade from your old armrest that you've been using forever to one of these XL armrests that you see multiple companies now advertising for. This one specifically is the one from Electrum, so I'm going to share my experience with you and let you know if I think it's worth the upgrade. Before we get started, today's video giveaway is Electrum towel tabs and Electrum cleanse. Both of these things came as a free sample with the Electrum armrest, and I'm not using them, so I'm passing them along to you. And then also a sticker pack of mine. I got some new stickers in. All you have to do to enter this free giveaway is leave your Instagram handle down in the comments along with a joke or some type of comment. In a couple weeks, I'll go through the comments and randomly select somebody. I will be messaging you from my only Instagram handle, which is tattoosbytyler_ST. I'll be covering shipping, and this is completely free to you. Beware of scammers. I've been tattooing with this armrest for about 7 or 8 years now. It's been super reliable and it's never let me down. So the question is, why would I upgrade from something like this to this? At the end of the day, I really can use anything for an armrest, really. I can go into nature, find a really good rock, saran wrap it, and just tattoo off of that. But the whole point for me for upgrading was to make my client more comfortable, make myself more comfortable, and also, if in any way possible, make my body not have to work as hard, so then that way it's less strenuous for me and I could tattoo for longer. Now, I did make an upgrade about 1.5 years or 2 years ago with getting the new chair. I did do a full review on this if you did want to check it out. But basically, you straddle this, and this front part right here supports your torso, so then that way it's less pressure on your back. I upgraded to this from this, and going from this stool to the new chair was a huge improvement for my back. So the question was, would the XL armrest do the same for me that the new chair did when I upgraded from the stool? Yes. The answer is yes, it did. But it wouldn't be a true review if I didn't talk about the positives and the negatives. So I'm going to talk about the things I like, and then I'm going to complain about some stuff, and then we're both going to go our separate ways. So I got my list of pros and cons right here. I'm going to go through them. First, let's start off with one of the things that I liked. This armrest was only $180 opposed to the next cheaper option, which I think is $230. I believe the brand is GG Workshop or something like that. Those seem very popular. They're incredibly similar, just with some little differences in the hardware. My first con is the directions are not very clear on how to put this thing together unless I'm just slow, which is incredibly possible. It did take me way longer than I felt I should take to put this thing together, but at last I did end up getting it together. And if anybody's like me, this is the order of the hardware that it should be in, like all the washers and whatnot. So yeah, I hope that helped. I also put the legs on backwards at one point, so you just got to make sure that the legs are pointing the right way. The next thing that I liked about this is there are many colors available. You can be individualistic with the way that your armrest looks. I have the brown one, but I will be customizing it like I customized this one. Eventually, I just haven't had the time, so eventually this will have some type of cool pattern on it. Because the bottom is wood and you are able to staple up into it. I think it's wood. They stapled into it, so I think we could too. The next thing I really liked about this is it has a cushion on the client side of the armrest, so in that way, if it's right up against the client's body, it's much more comfortable, opposed to this armrest, there's just a piece of wood, and then the cushion is actually just on top and not on the sides. So that is really nice just for the client's comfort. I did get tattooed with this armrest when I got my black work done. John was actually the first person to use this armrest. I got it the day before he came down here to do my arm, so he was the first person to use this. And as a client on this, I felt very comfortable just because I didn't feel like I needed to keep my arm in one specific position. It felt like if I needed to move around a little bit to get more comfortable, I was able to, just because there is so much real estate on the armrest. The next thing that I'm not the biggest fan of this armrest, but it's not specifically targeted at this brand, it's just any of these XL armrests, is if you're tattooing, obviously your arms are resting on this. That's the whole point of this, is to help your back. So if you're flipping your client's limb around, they're in different places. So you need to be aware of where you're putting your arms, so in that way you're not getting their blood or ink on your arms, because that's just gross. So wrapping your arms in dental bibs or sleeve guards is definitely something that you might want to look into if you're going to be having a messy session. If it's just something simple to where your client's arm is staying in one spot, and then you just know where not to put your arms. The next thing I really liked about this armrest is I can put my feet wherever I want, and it's very relaxing. With this armrest, I had to keep my feet basically on the base to make sure that it is more stable because it's a smaller base. These have 2 feet that are much wider apart, so in that way it just stabilizes itself on its own. And the last thing that I really like about this armrest is at the end of the day, my back doesn't feel like it's broken. Being supported while you're tattooing like this is such a great thing. I go home after a long day and like my hands are sore or whatever, maybe my neck is sore a little bit, but my back, especially like my lower and mid back, does not feel like it's broken in half, which is phenomenal. That, if anything, is the reason that I think anybody should upgrade to something like this. It's just gonna help your body feel better after a long day of tattooing. So lastly, I have 2 middle ground comments to where it's not a complaint and it's not something I like, it's just something that I was slightly indifferent about. The height adjustment on this is a 2-handed adjustment to where you have to open up both of them, and if you don't have the bottom of the armrest support it, it will just drop to its lowest height. So what I have to do is release the height adjustment levers or whatever you want to call them with my knee underneath the bottom of the armrest, and then adjust the height accordingly and then clamp them both down. It is what it is, but it would be nicer if it was a one-handed adjustment. And lastly, when it comes to wrapping this, I just use 2 really big sheets of plastic wrap, and that works for me. Electrum does sell dedicated wraps for this. They basically look like a giant shower cap that you can put on top of this. It's just one less thing that I have to buy, so I just use the plastic wrap because I always have a ton of that. So to end the video, in summary, I think it's a really good idea to buy one of these XL armrests. I really like this one from Electrum. It has completely replaced my old trusty. This one just sits in the closet. The only time I did use this ever since I got the bigger one is when I did a guest spot at my friend's shop, because this one's just much easier to transport. So I'm not getting rid of this one. It's just my travel one now, and this one is my everyday use. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments, and yeah, talk to you guys later. See ya, bye.